Hey everyone, I'm inserting this quick preamble just to note that there are some capture artifacts due to me playing this game in Xenia and recording. So there's going to be some screen flickering and flashing backgrounds. Apologies for that, and if you're photosensitive, just be aware. Thank you. All right, hello everyone. Today I'll be giving some commentary on my recent clear of Espgaluda 2. There's a lot I want to say about this game, so I'll just get right into it, starting with the character select. So I picked Asagi here because my intention with this run is to clear the game with the safest strats possible for a survival clear, which basically means picking the character that's most capable of that. And Asagi is that character. I'll explain that in just one moment. Quick thing to note on the screen here, what I'm doing is going to Kakusei, going into Kakusei over mode because I have 0 gems, and then basically allowing my Kakusei over mode level to increase to 3. So you might be familiar with this mechanic from Espgaluda 1, but the whole gist of it is that if you get to this level 3 in over mode, then the enemies give you more gems, which are resources that you use to, induce slowdown and implement the Kakusei mechanic. So that's pretty much essential to do right at the beginning. It's very easy, and the nice thing about this game is that you don't reset that level when you die. So you basically just have to do it once, set it, and forget it. It really makes me wonder why the default wasn't just Kakusei Overmode 3 level, resource, um, you know, distribution, because there's really no point in just getting to it or getting to level 3 at the beginning every time. It's almost as if you shouldn't have to do that anyway. So this is the first stage, nothing too um, difficult, and we're on the first stage boss. So for the first stage boss, you're gonna have a good amount of gems here. So really, you just need to focus on implementing the slowdown on anything that looks a little bit unsafe. So that last pattern with the wave, that you have to go through the gap. With Asagi, it's deceivingly hard at first just because her movement speed is so slow that in focus shot, so you really have to be careful and make sure that, you have enough room. Okay, so while this boss is going, because it's not too difficult if you implement the strategy I just said, I just want to mention Asagi in particular. She has a really, really, really odd movement speed archetype, and to be honest, makes it really annoying. Makes her really annoying to play. I don't like her at all for that reason. Basically, her focus shot speed is the slowest I've ever seen. It's hilariously slow, and her normal shot speed is normal. So when you want to go into focus shot, you kind of just have the transition between fast and slow is very jarring and hard to control. It almost feels like some inertia is added to your character as you're going from, rapid fire to holding the button down and kind of slowing to a crawl. It might just be because of this, or confirmation bias, but it also feels like the transition between rapid shot and focus shot is slower as well in this game, which makes it even harder to use. So for all intents and purposes, if you want to use Asagi, you know, you really don't want to be transitioning between rapid and focus shot that much, which is really frustrating because, if you've played these types of bullet hell games before, one of the things they teach you is a mastery of movement, right? Where you have to use rapid shot and focus shot whenever the situation best suits it. But in this game, it kind of teaches you bad habits because, to be honest, you don't really want to be in normal shot with this character at all, which just it's encouraging you to hold down the button, which is not something that you should be doing when you play a game that's more focused on the core dodging mechanics and less about resource management. So I said a lot about that particular topic, and we're now deep in stage 2. You just saw the stage 2 mid boss. If you handle it the way that I did, it's not too bad. I think the biggest thing is just memorizing what attacks come in what sequence, because you'll see that there is a section of that where he shoots the gun, and you just want to be dodging that up on the screen rather than at the very bottom, or else you're going to get walled off. In this section, you just want to stream from left to right. You can use Kakusei like I do to position yourself to make this a little bit easier. Sometimes this gets me. It's pretty difficult, especially with Asagi. So just use your resources when you have them, so that you don't take an unnecessary death. The survival clear is really focused on resource management. So having the right gem count at the right time, and also having the right bombs. And by extension, you don't want to die with the full bomb stock, because that's just wasted resources. Here's stage 2 boss. Now these patterns aren't really hard at all. The only thing is that because Asagi is just so weird to control, I end up finding myself dying to them way more than I should, which is really frustrating, because if this was in a different game with different systems, or if I wasn't playing a different character, I wouldn't really be batting an eye. But because this character is just so horrible to play, like, if I'm being honest or candid, it makes it harder. But you'll see why this is worth suffering through playing this character later in the run. So one thing that I really dislike about this character as well, I'm just complaining now, but I'll get it all out of the way, is that when you're in hold focus shot, she actually has clones that surround her. And especially on this boss, what I found is that, it's very hard to dodge with just your peripheral vision. So this is a skill that you train up naturally when you play these types of games, right? Where you're looking at the bullet pattern come towards you. You're not necessarily looking at your character sprite in and of itself, but you know where it is, and you can anticipate and dodge because you're using your peripheral vision. But because Asagi has those clones, you see them on the screen right now, that kind of go surround her and look kind of like a character. Sometimes my peripheral vision picks those clones up instead, and so I basically don't have a grasp on where Asagi is at that point, and then I die. So it kind of also teaches me a bad habit where I have to stare at Asagi's sprite during certain sections in order to make sure that I don't get hit. Whereas in reality, if you want to get better at these types of games, you can't really be doing that. So yeah, again, I really dislike this character for that reason. I think a lot of really ugly factors about these types of games, and the game design in Espgaluda 2 just came together to produce a really, really bad playing experience using this character. But anyway, that's the last I'll say about this topic. You'll see that I already have the first score extend. Basically, I just used Kakusei Jeshikai on the final pattern of the last boss to get that. So it's a really easy scoring opportunity. Okay, here, this is the stage 3 mid boss. What you have to do to get the hidden extend is you have to break off each of the 4 parts on the shoulders, actually 6 parts, on the shoulders of this mid boss before triggering the transition to the next life bar. In order to, that's part of getting the hidden extend. You cannot bomb. So basically, if you kind of follow this route that I'm using, you'll see that I'm speed killing the right hand side 3 parts, and then transitioning to the left and quickly killing the left 3 before finally finishing off the main body. I actually take a death, spoiler alert, I take a death here. Not one of my finest moments. There, you can see. But, at this point, it's okay. I know that I have enough resources still to clear the game, so I continue. Of course, this is effectively me wasting a bomb stock, right? So it's not ideal. Usually I would reset here, but to be honest, there's a lot that needs to go right in these first couple stages to get to this point, so I just figure, maybe I'll try my luck here. My focus right now is just getting enough gems to fight the level 3 boss, or the stage 3 boss. These big enemies here, once they fire this really, large pattern, I use Kakusei and, blow it up to trigger the bullet cancel. And then, rather than hold my Kakusei in place and blow up the next pattern, I just dodge that pattern. The reason I do this is just to conserve gems, because if you're not familiar, every time you transition out of Kakusei, you also lose gems, right? And if you kill an enemy, you lose gems as well. So I figured I'd rather transition out and conserve a couple more gems for the boss fight. Okay, so here, if you go into a Zeshikai mode, and you've killed the boss, the mid-boss, while breaking all 6 parts first, and then not bombed up until this point, you get the hidden extend. It's actually pretty precise with Asagi, because of some factors that I'll mention after this boss fight. This is the stage 3 boss. I had a bomb recharge, so I just unleashed a full bomb on it at the beginning. Oh yeah, apologies for some of the visual bugs. This is definitely a product of me recording it on Xenia. And I played this on Xenia actually, but when I was playing the run, none of these visual artifacts happened. I think it might be related to the replay feature being emulated poorly, on a PC. So apologies for that. I'll add a epilepsy warning at the beginning just because I know that photosensitive, it might be difficult for photosensitive individuals, excuse me. So my goal with this boss is just to make sure that I have enough resources to get through the last pattern. That basically involves having about 150 gems, maybe a little bit more, and some bomb as well. So I haven't mentioned this yet, but I've done it several times. The thing with Asagi that makes her so broken and so much easier to clear the game with, even with all of her faults and gameplay weirdness, is that when she's in Kakusei, she sends her little clones out onto the boss, and they or any enemy, and they melt the boss, absolutely annihilate them, and so you can skip entire patterns basically, just through conserving your gems and using them at the right moment. So now the game, as you might imagine, becomes more of a resource game, right, where you just have to carry those gems into certain sections in order to, basically clear the game or to get through the difficult sections, not necessarily relying on your dodging capability. So that's why Asagi is, the most broken character in this game for clearing it at least. You might have noticed, but when I'm in focus shot, actually, I have these 4 homing streams, right? One thing that makes getting the hidden extend with Asagi pretty difficult, I got walled there, didn't have any more bomb, which is unfortunate, is that those homing streams, they don't all go, and attack the same enemy, right? It's not like a lock-on. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt my thought here just to demonstrate here. You can see the power of the focus or the Kakusei shot. Just look at how I'm melting that mid-boss. You can see that I shift back just so I can beat that phase to get more gems rather than blow it up, because I actually, it returns you some gems if you defeat a boss not in Kakusei, whereas if you defeat a boss in Kakusei, it takes gems, right? That's how the scoring works in this game. Okay, what was I saying earlier? Oh yeah, but the the streams of homing shots that you fire in focus shot, they don't all focus on the same enemy, right? So in the mid boss, when you want to be attacking the turrets and stuff on the sides of the stage 3 mid boss, sometimes your homing shots are going in other directions. Maybe it's attacking the boss, and if enough of your homing shots are attacking the boss and not the parts, then you could trigger the next phase without destroying all the parts. So it's really finicky, and that's another part that I think is just like makes Asagi really a pain to play, because it's like like I'm point blanking certain turrets and positioning myself correctly, but I feel like maybe my homing shots weren't going in the right place. Maybe I need to go out of focus and refocus to fix them on something, and then you die because now your movement speed has changed. So we've been on the stage 4 boss now. It's basically the same strategy that I've applied for all bosses, and I'll link in the description. There's a really, really in-depth 2-hour-long video, basically like an Espgaluda 2 dictionary or encyclopedia that'll tell you everything you need to know about how to dodge these patterns. So I'm not focusing too much on that. But basically, the strat for survival is just to use all of your bomb, all of your gems, or as much as needed while not dying on these boss battles. So whenever things get a little bit hairy, that's when you start melting it with Kakusei or just shooting your bomb, because that makes it really easy to just not have to dodge anything. Like, look at this, I'm just like things are getting a little scary, I'm just gonna bomb. You charge it up and then you unleash it on the boss, and the nice thing is I have gems left. So one thing that I'll say about stage 4 boss in particular is just that it's nice to have gems left on the final pattern, because you'll see right here, it's just a joke. Just watch this. I'm gonna wait until this boss becomes vulnerable, and then just watch what's happening. What am I doing? I'm just standing still. It's dead, right? Otherwise, you'd have to dodge a pretty difficult final pattern for that stage 4 boss. But here, no problem at all. You carried your gems, you're good. So the audio is also a bit weird in the recording. Honestly, I'm not quite sure why. It might just be difficult for my computer to handle, running recording. So apologies for that. I have the volume pretty low for that reason. So this is actually a 6-stage game, although stage 5 is quite short. So because of that, this stage 5 isn't as crazy as perhaps a stage 5 of a normal cave game or a 5-stage cave game. I'll just keep that in mind. Now that we're fully powered up as Asagi, you can see that, this is more of the same mantra of don't really switch between rapid and focus shot very much, because when you're in focus shot, your homing attacks are just so wide now that it takes care of a lot of enemies before they even have the chance to shoot at you. So that makes the later stages of this game with Asagi much easier than the earlier stages, which is kind of weird. And I don't know how I feel about that, but you just have a very, very basic strategy of just staying at the bottom of the screen and holding down the focus button. It makes it really simple. So here you just want to start on the bottom left and slowly pan to the right. And whenever you hit that point where you feel like you need to make a cutback, just go into Kakuse like that. It's very easy. Make sure that you take out the enemies on the bottom right here because they take pot shots at you. You didn't see them do it there because I killed them like really fast, but otherwise they'll just get you when you're not expecting it. So just be careful here. There I get kind of lucky. I bomb, but you'll actually see I get hit right here. I don't even know what happened there, to be honest. I don't think I saw a bullet, but I ended up dying anyway. I don't know. It's hard to see in this game sometimes, and even without the screen flashing purple, like I said, that wasn't that wasn't there when I was playing. And like it's just a recording artifact. Here we have another energy recharge, so I'm going to take the opportunity to full bomb the stage 5 boss, and then pick up the carrier. So for this first pattern, you want to stay at the bottom left and just pan to the right very slowly. The only thing that you want to watch out for is that comb that kind of folds towards you. Otherwise, it's pretty simple. Just make sure to take that pan from left to right really slow. So here, you just want to focus whenever things get a little bit too scary. And then you can see that I'm just melting the life bar at this point. I don't switch back in time, so it takes a lot of my gems, so it's a little bit of a mistake. This pattern, I don't know how people with Asagi dodge it. I just don't know how. I feel like, you have to be on the right screen position in order to get that pattern to give you a window, otherwise you're just going to get clipped. Here you just want to start on, I do the right, and then you just pan and micro dodge very slowly, just to misguide the bullets. I don't do it quite well here because enough of the bullets get on screen that it makes this next pattern basically impossible to dodge. I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah, it didn't seem like it gave me away, so I had to bomb. Thankfully, I recognized that in time just from dying in previous runs, because that would have been pretty annoying. Here, you don't really want to shoot those rockets because they produce suicide bullets, so just be wary. Okay, here, you see I had enough gems. This pattern looks scary. I didn't have quite enough gems, so I needed to use the last of my bomb, but it was enough that I didn't have to dodge that final pattern, which was, another perk of Asagi, right? So, it really makes the rough start of this game easier as it goes on. Okay, so stage 6, basically just more of the same. You want to be staying roughly in the center of the screen so that your homing shots have the opportunity to access the entire, left and right top of the screen to just take out any Zako that may remotely pose a problem for you. Of course, I say that, but the screen still looks kind of busy, so, that's where Kakuse comes from. It does take quite a few gems to go in and out, much more than Espgaluda, which is really, I don't know why they made that decision. But, still it's worthwhile in order to save your life because, you want to be carrying as many resources into the final boss as possible with Asagi. Here's another demonstration of why Asagi is really broken. Just look at how I'm killing this mid-boss. No effort on my part, just really simple. I had 500 gems banked, used only, 250 or so. And I'm quickly getting them back right now. So that mid-boss is not even in the equation when you play as Asagi in this game. So there are two mid-bosses in Stage 5 actually. The second one gives me a bit more trouble than the first one, so we'll see that in just a bit. But, really just more of the same. The thing about having 6 stages is just that stages 5 and 6 are kind of just one, they have the length of one big stage, or a typical Stage 5. There, you can see that, there's a really large enemy on the screen that has 2 kind of phases or life bars, so I just kakuse through both. But in retrospect, I think that, it might be worthwhile to save some gems for the second mid-boss, because I don't have enough to get through unscathed. You'll see that, I'm melting it, which is nice. But there's actually like a hidden, break point for some reason. And, I end up not having enough gems to finish it off, and I don't have a bomb, so I can't really avoid dying here, unfortunately. Not having practiced this pattern, seeing how kind of busy it is, my only option really is to bomb it. One thing to note is that, when you destroy things, right, it decreases your gem counter by some fixed amount. And that mid-boss, the second mid-boss, actually produced those destructible parts that serves to decrease your gem count. So it actually mitigates Asagi's strength somewhat, which is kind of cool, but at the same time, not good in that situation. So I had to use some of my bomb there, which wasn't ideal. We're getting to the latter half of Stage 6. There's going to be like an Alice clone section, similar to Esperade and Espgaluda, so very cool. A callback. With Asagi, it's not so bad, honestly, because of just how wide the homing is on your, your focus shot. You just want to, hold out for as long as you can, and then you're going to get a bomb carrier refill towards the end of this stage. So, for me, what's most important going into the final boss is having enough gems. So I consider bombs as the less valuable resource here, which is usually flipped on its head, but here, you really want to be saving those gems. So I hold out for as long as I can, and then I just bomb, knowing that I'll have some more bomb at the end. Overall, there's no real need to route this at all, to be honest with you. So definitely the easier section compared to Esperade, and probably about the same difficulty as Espgaluda. Okay, got my recharge. Now I'll show you why Asagi is so broken. This is the first stage, the first phase of, the final boss. It's very much a throwback to Espgaluda's final boss. I don't really know the story, but, it looks very similar. So here you can just see I'm melting it, no problem. Switch back to get some more gems rather than having it take more away from me. I'm just going to do the same exact thing. Where's the danger here, right? I mean, things get a little bit scary, and I'm trying to look at the life bar so I can do this, but really not a big deal. You saw that me killing that final boss made my gem count go up, or, that phase made my gem count go up by 134. That's really good, right? So it's pretty important that you do that just to make sure you're getting as many gems as possible that you can then dump on this last phase. I have 2 lives, some bomb, and 134 gems. Usually at this part, I think I'm, sitting pretty if I can execute, just bombing a couple things. You'll see exactly what's happening here. So here I actually make a little bit of a mistake. I waste some of my gem count because the boss was not vulnerable during some of that, so that's my mistake. And then I'm just going to full bomb this guy. The first phase of the final boss is actually a little bit annoying because you can't actually, you hit your entire bomb on it because your bomb is too wide, but nevertheless, able to get through that okay. I'm going to use the last of my bomb here just because I don't want to die with any resources in stock, just to maximize the damage I can do to this boss. Okay, so first phase is down, got a little lucky there, had no resources, needed to dodge for a little bit. So here, I know that I'm going to die because I need some gems at the end anyway. So I'm just going to dodge for as long as possible to do as much damage and then die. Okay, here, I have a full bomb, right? No problem at all. I'm just going to full bomb it because I know that I'm going to take care of the final phase quite easily. Okay, so this is the part that makes Asagi broken. This final pattern usually has a bomb shield, and it's really difficult. But look at what I'm doing. It's dead, right? Like, look at this. It's in Espgaluda 1, right? Your bomb healed the enemy, and there were a couple it was a fixed pattern, but it was something that you needed to learn. Um, and the same with Gara and Esperade. It wasn't quite the same thing as far as like having a bomb shield and all this stuff, but you did have to heavily, learn that boss fight. But with Asagi, no such thing. You just really need to carry the resources there. So with that being said, we got the clear. It took me about a week of playing and kind of getting with the weirdness of, trying to control this really annoying character, to be honest. I know I complained a lot, and I think that, a lot of my critiques are in some way, personal preference. I feel like if you're used to playing a slow ship, or, some of the other things that I brought up didn't bother you that much, then that's completely fine. But my own experience with Espgaluda 2 is, mostly one of frustration because of playing Asagi. But as you can see, I wouldn't have been able to get this clear nearly as fast as if I had picked a different character. So despite all of these problems, Asagi is still by far the easiest character to clear the game with. And it's really just because her Kakase is so broken. Yeah. Did I mention that if you're in Kakase and you try to move around unfocused, she has the highest movement speed in the game. So she has both the highest movement speed and the lowest movement speed in the game, which is really, really hard to control when you're trying to go in between both, right? So yeah, just more of a tidbit. So I'll have 2 links in the description for this video. There's a link to, as I mentioned before, this really comprehensive guide that'll basically tell you everything you know mechanically about the game. I didn't go into any of that in this commentary because those resources are already available, right? And I'll also link a survival commentary clear with Asagi that'll just explain some of the patterns better than I did, but also give another demonstration of dodging some of these patterns, just because I think that there's already a couple of really good clear videos already on YouTube, so I didn't really go too in depth on the strategies, and more just kind of gave my opinion of the game. I'll just send you over there in case you wanted to, get an alternate viewpoint or maybe some more precise strategies. There's a lot else I wanted to say about this game. So yeah, I think my general impression is this game has such high production value. It looks really beautiful. The music is great, and the detail in the sprites, things like Ciceri coming back, and kind of having that little cut in when you kill her, things like those little callbacks, right? And I don't know. This game is such high quality, and I just feel, I feel like there's this huge disconnect between how great the game is, visually and production-wise, and how weird Asagi feels. I don't know, maybe Cave thought that, hey, this is the beginner character that people should be using. I think probably that factored in a little bit, just because of how OP she is compared to the other two. But, yeah, I don't know, some of the decision-making for the way she's designed is kind of questionable, to be honest with you. Also, just changes. If we talk about comparisons between Espgaluda and Espgaluda 2, I think most of the changes were for the worse, to be honest with you. Of course, I'm saying this as someone who didn't engage with Kakase Zeshikai at all and isn't scoring at all. So perhaps those changes, actually I know these changes have translated to greater, maybe infinite depth as opposed to Espgaluda 1, right? But, changes such as making the gem counters more difficult to manage, or like taking more gem penalties uh, for going in and out of Kakusei, or just having fewer gems overall. That feels not as nice to where the point where in Espgaluda 1 you could always be dodging things and uh, transitioning in and out of Kakusei relatively easily. But in Espgaluda 2, you really have to pick your spots for Kakusei. Otherwise, you can find yourself quickly out of gems. And so, you know, one thing that I really liked about Espgaluda was that you can kind of use those gems more freely, right? I think that provided a lot of freedom to play the game how you want. But in Espgaluda 2, it's not like that. It becomes much more rigid. Perhaps that's the freedom is what makes Espgaluda widely considered to be one of the easier cave games to 1cc or Danmaku in general. Uh, but I think you know it's not a sin to have that. Whereas Espgaluda 2 feels much more like unforgiving in that sense, and it feels like they're trying to course correct to more difficulty. I'm not sure why. I wasn't there during that time period, and whatever pressures they were experiencing. But yeah, overall, I'm just ranting at this point. But yeah, the video's over. Really appreciate your time. And yeah, I'll hope to see you in the next one. I'm slowly working on those Cave 1CCs. I think I have about 9 left now. So yeah, hope to make some progress on that soon and share it with you all. Thank you.